Hello, my name is Annette Deleu, and you are listening to The Heart of You. Today, we're going to be speaking with Niraj Naik, who is an incredible breathwork facilitator. So he is the Renegade Pharmacist. He is a certified UK pharmacist turned holistic wellness, brain training, and breathwork expert. He is one of the world's most sought after breathwork ceremony facilitators and leads workshops all around the world. Niraj, thank you so much for being here.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
One of the questions I always ask my guests is to give us a little bit of a background. Can you tell us what facilitated your spiritual awakening and what is your spiritual journey story?
Yeah, sure. I actually came from a pretty agnostic, non-spiritual background. Growing up in the UK, most of the Indian kids who have, quite strict Indian parents, who've really worked hard to survive in coming from literally nothing, poverty, to creating something for themselves. Many came to England as like refugees, and especially in Africa when Idi Amin kicked all the Indians out of Uganda. There's a lot of Indians ended up in England, pretty much having to start from zero. This is my parents' story. So, well, actually, the thing is, like most Indian kids, they tend to rebel against the traditions of the family. So
Right.
my parents weren't very strict into the Hindu kind of culture, but they did do all the rituals and pujas, and I just found all of that so kind of lame, right? Not cool. So ironically, doing what I'm doing now is like, it's quite bizarre, quite funny actually. But so what happened was I actually did the whole thing of following the traditional cultural thing of either becoming a doctor, dentist, lawyer, accountant, computer programmer, something like that, something very safe and secure. And I ended up being a pharmacist. And that was literally the best thing and also the worst thing that ever happened to me, because I was now doing a job that wasn't aligned with who I truly am. And it's a very robotizing career. Like you're literally in a cubicle just dishing out pills all day long.
Right.
And it's just not my style. So I pretended to be a community pharmacist for like 7 years, like just having a very miserable existence. It's just faking that character, and that wasn't my truth. And then eventually what happened was I had a bit of a breakdown. I started to actually be curious about what does make people healthy, and because I just saw people going away with shopping bags full of drugs literally every day.
Yeah.
And that just didn't seem right to me. It really didn't seem right. And I knew the kind of money people were making as well. There's a lot of money being made out of pharmaceuticals. So I felt there has to be another way to do this. And I went to a Tony Robbins event, actually. A friend bought me a ticket. I didn't have any kind of interest in any of this guru stuff, but it ended up being actually like one of the best things I did. And it's the first place I heard about health and diet, nutrition and things like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put Tony Robbins to the test. If he's full of shit, I'll find out pretty quick. And I started giving this information out in the pharmacies. And you know what? Just doing something that actually genuinely solves a real problem that people have, right?
Yeah.
That is spirituality, right? So that's when I discovered what it feels like to have real heart-centered satisfaction, where you actually genuinely make someone better, like where you take them from severe pain to a better version of them, or like the best version of themselves, because some people got so dramatically better from just changing their diets, simple things like changing their diets, that they became whole new people. And I saw this, witnessed this change. And then, this actually lit up people around me, because they were like, wow, okay, maybe there is another way. That was the first taste of real, true spirituality, in my opinion, that I received. And then I tried a very hard way of getting my information out to the masses by siding with a big corporation, a big brand, which I felt at the time shared my values, but ultimately it's very difficult to change the values of a corporation, which is agenda is fully profit based, right?
Sure.
And they don't really care so much about the welfare of the end consumer, even though they say they do, they don't really. So 6 months into having this project launch, which would have been a healthy shopping list service for the masses, it would have been amazing. They shelved this idea, and this is actually when I got really disillusioned. That was when I actually went into a spiritual void. Because I was like, there is no such thing as God. There can't be. There's no way a God would allow this
Right.
to happen. I had all these views and judgments, and boom, I then got hit with a autoimmune disease, ulcerative colitis, and ended up becoming housebound for almost a year.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So
Wow.
during that, I'm also now completely lost my faith in anything spiritual, and I just thought this was all just nonsense, and I just surrendered to the medical system. And within a few months, I got so sick. I'd lost a third of my body weight. I was a little ready to die. I'd lost my hope for humanity, to be honest. And
Mm.
they say God stands for gift of desperation, but there was this one moment I remember very clearly where I was given a choice: either be a guinea pig for a drug that hasn't been tested before, or have my colon removed. There were the two options left. Now I was like, that's when I was really at my lowest point. And suddenly, a friend of our family came to the rescue, called Swami Ambikananda. She's a yoga teacher. She said, look, you've got a gift here. If you can actually reverse this, don't lose hope, because you can actually turn this around and become a big role model to people and do the thing that you wanted to do in the first place, but do it your way. So actually it became the self-fulfilling prophecy. And she taught me some basics of pranayama, Ayurveda, traditional yoga. I really had no other choice. I couldn't be skeptical at this point. It was too late. I was either going to die or try this.
Or be all in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I went into this, and then that took me down a rabbit hole, because I got such relief from just simple breathing techniques that I was like, wow, I need to learn as much about this as possible. And this led to me also rediscovering my passion for music. And I realized that if you look at the spiritual traditions, the ancient religions, music was a core part of them, but the music was not like some cheap music that you see these days on the charts. It was like music that was incredibly well crafted to create and invoke a healing response or a transformational response in the person listening.
Right.
And so I realized as well, that you can combine breathing techniques with music to create even more powerful experiences. This is what I started to do, and I started to learn how to use altered states to reprogram and uncondition, deprogram, and reprogram the operating system of the mind. And that led to create my first online business, and I created this automated income system using just selling basically digital music. And I never had to go back to my pharmacy job again. So what I realized here was actually that spirituality, or the force of the light and darkness, is like a dance that's happening all the time.
Yeah.
And however dark the pendulum shifts to one side, there's going to be an equal opposite shift to the light, as long as you keep the faith. And that's the foundation, I think, of a lot of spiritual practice, is the faith. Faith in something higher than yourself that is guiding you towards the light. And if you choose the light, because you can go down both sides, if you choose the light, which I did, and you do it with no fear, right?
Right.
That the darkness is going to throw all of its elements at you in order to grow towards the light. Right? Actually, the foundation of all kind of Freemasonic practice as well, which I think is actually pretty interesting stuff, is turning selfishness into integrity. Right? So
Oh, I love
most
that.
people you'll see are very selfish in their actions. Like, they do a job to make money, to pay their bills, put a roof over their head, and it's maybe for their immediate family or their own survival. But they don't care so much about the actions of the way they're making their money, of the company that they may be serving. There's a lot of people who work for big corporate brands who they just do their job, but they don't care about the repercussions of that brand. So that's basically siding with the dark,
Right.
and giving up responsibility, saying, "Oh, it's okay. I do my job. It doesn't matter what is the net result of my job." But that's that's siding with the dark. And that's what I did as a pharmacist. I sided with the dark. Well, we weren't helping people spiritually. We were making a lot of money, profiting a lot of people's sickness. Now, that's not being spiritual, right?
Right.
I'll define spirituality again in a minute. But the light would be healing the person so that they become self-sufficient and sovereign in themselves. So they don't need you then. They can take care of themselves. The pharmaceutical industry is all about dependence.
I just have a question
Yeah.
regarding, so you're saying that you chose the dark in that space of being a pharmacist. Would you say that you chose that versus it was something that was presented to you for you to experience in order for you to get to the light? Because from the beginning you said that you were feeling it was completely out of alignment, even though at that time you weren't particularly rooted in the spirituality yet. So clearly you were listening to your body, you were listening to what your intuition was saying
Yeah,
even
but
at
for
that
a
time.
long time I ignored it because I didn't have enough faith in the other side, right?
Ah, I see. Okay,
So,
got it.
and a lot of people, they don't even look to, because it's because of ignorance. It's because we don't have the right educational system. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Right.
So a lot of people just do their jobs and don't care about the impact, whatever job they're doing, whatever corporation they're siding with is
Right.
making in the world. So really the true act of spirituality, in my opinion, is like what Jesus said, right? You give a man a fish, he can feed himself for a day, but you teach a man to fish, they can feed themselves forever, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I think is true spirituality, is true spiritual work, is when you help people become self-sufficient and able to take care of themselves and then pass that on.
Wonderful.
So that's what I started to do first for myself, and then I started to create a method that people could use that isn't reliant on me anymore. It's like education, right? Proper education,
Mm,
and then that took on a life of its own, and boom, I just started to become super lucky and fortunate, and I would just make crazy synchronicities, and I'll just attract the right people to me who are doing similar things. And boom, before I knew it, within a few years, we've now got this Soma Breath school, which has trained over 2,000 instructors in these techniques that I share. Now, it's become an amazing thing. So, and the
that's
results
incredible.
we get are phenomenal. And one of the big things that people say to us all the time is that they feel like they're in the presence of something, a spiritual force around them that is guiding them towards something better, right? It's like
Yes.
for the first time they've got their hope back, their faith
Mm-hmm.
back, and they now know what they need to do to stay at their best every day. Whereas before they were confused. And
Right.
so my job is taking the confusion and giving more clarity to what's
Got it.
right. Yeah.
I have a question before we get into what breathwork is and what your process is with breathwork. I want to address the music portion really quickly because you mentioned that initially you started out by putting out music that was aligned. How did you go about doing that? Do you have a musical background or were you just sort of guided to the right people?
Yeah. I'm a music producer. So before I
Oh,
became a
fantastic.
pharmacist, I used to run big raves in the UK, like 2,000 people raves for 3 years.
Oh,
Well,
right.
this was all done while I was at university, and I had no intention of becoming a pharmacist. That was just the fallback thing at university. But
Mm,
the club events didn't work out in the end, and I lost a lot of money, and I ended up having to go back to the pharmacy. It was all a
mm,
blessing in disguise because that lifestyle wasn't aligned with me either. It was too hedonistic and crazy and wild. But it gave me the foundation of how to make cool music. So that then pushed me forward to later on when I rediscovered my passion for music, when I was trying to heal myself. And I started to make the music that was very therapeutic. But you see, at that time, I realized that a lot of the music that's out there in the wellness space, the meditation space, yoga space, was super cheesy and bland.
mm.
It was like made in the 70s kind of thing with
Sure.
panpipes and stuff. So
Yeah.
I didn't resonate with it. So I was like, look, I love the concept, but I need to make my own music. So I started to make my own tracks.
Yeah.
And I started to put them up on YouTube for free, which is an amazing platform for getting noticed. I
Yeah.
started to put my stuff on YouTube, and boom, I suddenly had a fan base. And that's what inspired me to keep going.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really important to talk about because it is a really big part of the healing practice and Soma Breath. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that.
Awesome.
So if you want to just give us a brief overview of what breath work is and how it works, if you want to go
Amazing.
give us the basics.
Yeah. So the word spiritual actually means to breathe. It comes from the Latin root espiritu, which is breath, life.
Mm,
So spirituality is something that we all have because we all breathe, right? So what I was saying before is when you can give people the power back, right, to take care of themselves,
mm,
that's true spirituality. And so when you teach somebody how to use the breath, right, is giving them the power back over the inner world, right? Because with the breath, you have direct access to the autonomic nervous system. You can
yeah.
control your heart rate, you can control your body temperature, you can switch pain on and off, you can enter into altered states of consciousness, you can create bliss states, you can go to sleep, you can energize yourself, have more fitness, stamina. So it really is like an inner pharmacy
Mm-hmm.
at your fingers, at your basically at your breath, control of your breath.
Right.
So that's the most amazing thing is if you teach people the right breathing techniques, and this is what pranayama is a system of energy controlling techniques where foundation is on breath to help people have a control over the function of their body so that then they're not so dependent on external things, right?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. So right now, the number three killer in the world, okay, is adverse drug reactions and medical mistakes, which is a
Mm,
serious problem, right?
yeah.
Number one is cardiovascular disease, heart attacks.
Right.
Number two is cancer, I think. But ultimately, you want to prevent yourself from being a part of this medical system because actually your chances of dying are higher than your chances of surviving if you
Mm,
end up in that system. And your quality of life is going to suck. So you want to do whatever you can to avoid that. Because in America, for example, if you go onto medical bills, you could end up like bankrupt. Okay. So
100%. Yeah.
so with the breath, certain breathwork techniques, you have the ability to really enhance your health, your well-being, and release unresolved emotions,
Oh,
trauma,
that's a huge
tension,
one. Yeah.
which actually is what tends to lead to people having bad habits, bad self-care,
Mm-hmm.
bad rituals, basically. So, like, if you can help people to reprogram, and that's what the breath allows you to do. It helps you get into altered states which allows you to become your own software program of your own operating system. So
Mm,
right now, most people allow the computer programmer to be the TV, the media, the advertising, the government, the politicians, the doctors, right? And really, you need to program yourself how you want to be because that system doesn't usually have your best interests at heart. And it
right.
sees you as a digit and not as a sovereign soul, with your own life and your own values. So you want to get out of that system and you want to learn how to do everything as much as possible with yourself and trust in yourself. And then once you get that, then you can really thrive and not just survive. So that's what we're
Mm,
about, is to help people become their own guru and not be falling into these like weird kind of groups that I've seen as well that kind of manipulate people into becoming extremely dependent on one guru, right?
right.
Who's the answer for everything.
Yeah.
That's not spirituality. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Any system that where you become dependent on a single guru for your happiness, game over, forget it. Like we're not about
100%
that.
agree. Yeah.
And in
100% agree.
Soma Breath, like there is no one guru, there's no one person. I brought together a framework, but it's quite open source and people contribute to it. And our instructors are helping other people by passing on the information become their own gurus. That's the
Mm.
methodology that I've created.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I do agree in the sense that this podcast, in and of itself, is sort of set up to give people all of the resources and as many modalities and as much information as we can possibly give in terms of spiritual awakening. So then that way they can make informed decisions for themselves as to what modalities work for them. And it's interesting because this is a this is a good segue to my personal experience with breath work. And I have a question for you regarding getting started with breath work because I had been doing a ton of shadow work and my talents lie in the Akashic records. And so I do a lot
Yes.
of work in that. And so I've been doing all of this stuff for years, but for some reason I had some resistance regarding doing breath work. So I
Ah,
kept on sort of like, pushing it aside. And, my sister had studied Ayurveda as well. And, all of this. So like it was in my field, like I knew about it, but I had this resistance and I was like, this is so weird. Like, why am I resistant to this? And part of it was like, oh, well, I have allergies and sinus problems. I have a hard time breathing through my nose. Like that's the excuse, So like all of these things started coming together. And then finally I was like, I'm feeling really guided to start doing this. And I listened to a meditation. This was probably maybe about a year ago. And I got halfway through the meditation. I hadn't even started it yet. It was just the setup of the meditation. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this. And I walked away from it and didn't even really think about it. It was just like, I don't really feel like doing this. Okay, maybe I'm just not guided to do this. Right.
Mm.
And then I realized over the course of time that it wasn't the guidance. It was actually the fear that my body was having that I didn't realize was happening. So it's that releasing of that energy that's hidden within the spots of all of those compartmentalizations that you've done over the course of your lifetime. And I didn't realize that was what was leading me until I finally sat down and said, you know what, I think it's really time to do the breath work and actually try this. And I did it. And within 8 minutes, no joke, I was sobbing. I was silently screaming. I was releasing so much and I didn't even know where it was all coming from. And so like it was so powerful, that very first experience that I had in the release, that I was like, okay, this is important work. What I would like to know from you is, how do you get to that place of being able to do the breath work if you're having resistance to it, if your body is having resistance to it?
Okay, so that's a really good question, because breathwork is not just one method, right? There's
Right.
a big variety of different breathing practices, which is the first very clear thing that people need to realize. Because what a lot of people think breathwork is this conscious connected hyperventilation, right?
Right.
For like an hour, 2 hours, and you go into crazy states, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now that can be very challenging for almost everyone, due to the fact that chronic hyperventilation is one of the biggest problems that affects the human health. Right? Chronic mild hyperventilation. So if I was to get you to just hyperventilate for 30 seconds in and out through your mouth, right, you can try it if you want, but you're going to feel dizzy, lightheaded,
Sure.
not feel that well. And in fact, if you have a symptom of a disease, you can actually create that symptom and make it even worse just by making somebody hyperventilate. This is what
Wow. Yeah.
This is what Dr. Buteyko realized.
Yeah.
Dr. Buteyko was an amazing scientist. He was a doctor from Ukraine who invented the Buteyko method, but it's based on traditional yoga. He was trying to heal himself from very high levels of hypertension. He was basically going to have a heart attack if he didn't do something, and the medical system wasn't working. So what he found was there's a link between over breathing, so breathing too much for what your body needs, so breathing through your mouth, talking a lot. If you talk a lot throughout the day, you hyperventilate. Basically, bad breathing habits, stressful breathing, breathing when you're in a panic. So a lot of people are highly stressed, so they hyperventilate naturally and they don't realize it, or they breathe through their mouth.
And
So
that's
he
more
thought,
shallow breathing, right?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
shallow breathing into the chest, not the
Yeah.
diaphragm.
Got it.
Heavy breathing into the chest. So
Okay.
what happened was what he found was that this was the root cause of his hypertension. So he devised a system of reduced breathing. He found that pranayama is a system all about training you to breathe less. So you become very efficient at using oxygen. So you don't need to breathe so much. So this system became very, very effective, and it made big impact in the world. There's lots of Buteyko instructors around the world. They really, really good for things like hypertension, asthma, any kind of chronic disease, because most chronic diseases is a result of chronic mild hyperventilation. So anyway, what the problem is that a lot of people are already stressed. They already got issues with their health. And when you give just a little bit of hyperventilation to that person, they feel more sick at the end of it than better. So this can be sometimes the resistance for people, because the body isn't supposed to hyperventilate. It's not
Right.
it's not natural to us. In fact, really, we want to have good habits to prevent us from hyperventilating. Now, the thing is, when you do controlled hyperventilation, like rebirthing, holotropic, in the right context, with the right person, in the right setting, for the right intention, it can lead to massive, powerful breakthroughs.
Mm.
But it's very, very obvious to me why some people are resistant to it, because the body, the somatic intelligence is actually hyperventilation isn't good for me. So why would I
Right.
do it? Okay.
Right.
So, but in a controlled way, it can have some therapeutic breakthrough. It can be very good for releasing emotions, unresolved trauma, things like that. But
Sure.
what I did, because of this, I know all of this from years of being in the space, was I modified these techniques with music, rhythmic music, and I made slow breathing tracks that take you to the same space as very intense hyperventilation, but without all of the painful catharsis that comes from hyperventilating too much.
Beautiful.
And I what I did was I took like traditional pranayama techniques, added the wisdom of the past on the way to do the techniques, and we still create the most powerful breakthroughs. But people enjoy doing it. They look forward to a session because the sessions, firstly, the music makes a big difference.
Mm.
Second, we don't do full power hyperventilation for long periods of time. We do it in
Mm-hmm.
a controlled way that's more effective. And we also engage the body into it as well. We use movement. So all of
Mm.
this combined, we get to the same space, but it's more blissful.
Right.
Takes you more into peace, the samadhi states, the oneness connection without all of the feeling sick and like anxious and panicky that you get with certain like fast breathing, conscious, connected breathing techniques.
Right.
So yeah, so I can see why people get resistant to
Mm-hmm.
breathwork because they probably think breathwork is going to be this intense, full power breathing techniques. But remember, as I said, it's like a pharmacy. So everything you would go to a pharmacy for, there is a breathing technique for it, which
Mm.
some of them are quite slow, like very deep, slow breathing techniques. Like we're talking 6 breaths per minute, right?
Right.
Or they are breathing through one nostril, another nostril, or involve humming and making tones. So there are
Mm.
different types of breathing techniques for different uses. And then there's the ones that you're more familiar with, like holotropic, rebirthing, and conscious connected breathing, that are for getting into altered states of consciousness. Even they can be modified and tailored and customized to each person so that they become more of a blissful, spiritual, divine experience rather than a painful one. So, yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that's great. So when somebody goes to somabreath.com, and actually you are offering all of our listeners a free masterclass, and we will include that link in the show notes. So when they go to this masterclass, is this giving them a brief overview of all of these techniques, or do you start in one particular place and sort of go linearly as you learn? How is it set up?
So we have various courses. We have the foundation course, which is called BreathFit. And BreathFit is all about creating the foundations of healthy breathing habits. So this is all the things you
Mm.
do to improve your default state. Your default state is like when you're not doing any techniques, right?
Right.
So the purpose of spiritual practice is to improve your default state, basically.
Yeah.
So each technique you do is to improve your day-to-day way of life when you're not doing anything else, any technique. So we teach you all of the healthy breathing habits, techniques for switching off stress. It's like basically the pharmacy, breath
Mm.
pharma. I call it breath pharma. It's your pharmacy of different breathing practices. And it also teaches you how to customize your lifestyle based on your energy type, which comes from the Ayurvedic dosha system, right, of
Mm.
understanding who you truly are. So there's all
Hmm.
of that. And also the Soma Breath yoga. So it's doing the yoga asanas. The original traditional yoga is just like 15 asanas. You don't need to be a gymnast to do traditional yoga.
Sure.
But it can really make some big impacts very quickly because traditional yoga uses the breath, controlled breathing with each pose, and it's very, very effective. So we teach you all of that as the foundation. And then we
Mm.
have the 21-day awakening protocol. This is what Cambridge University is studying right now. And this takes you through a special hypoxic protocol using our most advanced technique, which involves breath holds. And you'll be
Mm.
holding your breath. First week will be quite mild, but then it builds up to the point where by the end of the 21 days, you could be holding your breath for 2 to 3 minutes or even more
Yeah.
after an exhale. So after you've got no air in your lungs. And that leads to these amazing, divine, spiritual bliss states, oneness, connection, these like DMT kind of states that you get from psychedelics. But it
Mm.
also has a very powerful strengthening over the entire physiology. So it's like a two-in-one thing. It strengthens your physiology, your fitness, stamina, but it also improves your mental health and your outlook on life and perception of life. And we show you through this technique how to start to reprogram yourself and become more clear about what you want. Then we have a third course, which I did with the Shift Network. It's basically finding your element, your true element, and living by it. Like it's a whole process of deconstructing who you are. You're learning about your entire operating system and all the programs and apps you've got installed and how to unprogram them or reprogram them how you want, install new programs. And it's a very therapeutic technique. The breathing practices are much more intense towards the end, much more like rebirthing a holotropic, but it still builds you up gradually. And it's a 7-week course. It's very, very powerful. So these are our main courses. And then we have instructor training where you learn the real framework that we teach in each one of these courses, how to use them with your clients because they're proven, they're very powerful. And also then you learn how to guide our spiritual rock star practices, which is our group breathwork practices using what we call the Soma Awakening technique. And it's a combination of rhythmic breathing, music, movement, and it takes people into super bliss states. So this is a way that instructors can like use to create like amazing experiences for people in their community, get to know people in the community, to like be a trusted advisor of the community. And then through that, you can learn about what people really want help with and make some, amazing breakthroughs with people as a coach, as a breath coach, using our framework. So yeah, we made quite a clever system of helping instructors become abundant, but actually do true spiritual work by passing on the lessons,
Right.
the knowledge to people. That's why they're instructors, because we're teaching people. We're not just doing hocus pocus magic. We're actually getting to the root cause with some grounded scientific techniques.
And I think that that's why, especially right now in this time, there are so many light workers that are getting into exactly what they need to for their life's path, for their soul's purpose, in order to pass down all of this information to every generation moving forward. And there needs to be a lot of us, quite frankly, because not everybody's going to resonate with every single practitioner. So,
100%.
even if you have 2,000 practitioners doing Soma Breath, there are going to be so many different people who are going to resonate with one person versus another. So you may be teaching the exact same thing, but it's about that energetic frequency and resonance that you have with a practitioner that really makes the difference.
Yeah, and our system's all about understanding at root level that we're all unique, we're all individual, we all have our own similarities, but we also have differences, and they should all be cherished and nourished, because that's what makes this world so amazing, is the variety of different perceptions and outlooks on life. But there's a common thread to all of it, which is the breath that unites all of us. But you can tell the language of breath, you can speak the language of breath, sing the language of breath in different ways. And so an instructor will find their people who are like them, who will share the same interests as them. And that way we need an abundance of instructors, as you said, to make a big impact. Because I'm not going to connect with everyone. Some people are going to hate me, others are going to love me. It's like, I don't want to try and attract every single person. It's just impossible. So having amazing instructors who all have their own personalities, individuality, is like the mission, is to get as many people out there doing that as possible. Like, I'll give you an example, Zumba, who actually made fitness fun, right? They added dance to fitness, which is great.
I have been a Zumba instructor for many, many years.
Have you? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the co-founder of Zumba is a very good friend. He's a mentor of mine.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. But they have 250,000 instructors.
Yeah.
So we've just started. We've got a long way to go.
Well, and it's going to happen because it's necessary. And just like in any Zumba class, I've taken classes here in Paris, and of course, I said I was teaching in the United States, and every single instructor is different, and it's all a different flavor, and it's all according to what you feel drawn to. Now, if you're interested in becoming an instructor, what is the process? How long is the training? Give us all of that wonderful information for anybody out there who's thinking about becoming an instructor.
If anyone wants to actually do our instructor training, I'll give you a special link so that they can get a big discount through you.
That would be great. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
we'll sort that out. So generally, the way I've made the course is to help instructors get out there doing sessions as quick as possible, because that's the best way to learn, is by doing. All right.
Mm,
But we have a technique which is quite easy to facilitate, and that's really powerful, which we call the energized meditation, which involves a bit of a warm up with like movement, dance, or yoga, followed by a 2 to 3 round breath journey using our core technique. And it's very blissful and safe for everybody to do. It's a very powerful technique, but very, very safe.
mm,
So we get our instructors like getting out there, facilitating that within a month. All right. So doing it with their friends, family to get practice. And then from that, everything builds on as layers. So then you move into, because you're just using our script and our proven templates to start with.
mm-hmm,
So that's within a month. But then we have different levels. So the next level above that is more therapeutic. So you're learning all the different breath therapy techniques, and you become more like a breath pharmacist, where you can identify problems and prescribe the right breathing protocols and lifestyle changes to the individual. And you can start guiding using your own voice breath journeys for specific indications,
mm,
uses. All right. So you can have a manifesting journey, you can have a self-love journey, you can have a self-healing journey, right? So there's a whole different like range of protocols that we give. And then the third level beyond that is coaching. Now using our proven frameworks like Breath Fit, 21 days, the shift. And that's a long process, because to get to that point, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of
mm,
shadowing and seeing how other people are doing it.
mm-hmm.
So, but you can still be an instructor while you're doing that journey.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't have to wait, 6 months to a year before you're out there doing a session, because you can't really learn breathwork by reading things on the internet.
Sure.
It's impossible. You have to be doing it. So yeah, that's why it's set up like that.
Oh, that's great. And that also gives people that sort of gradual journey to be able to get into the coaching, because I find that sometimes if you're wanting to become a coach of some sort, it can be a little intimidating, because you're just like, "Oh gosh, how am I going to get started?" and that kind of thing. So what it sounds like is that you've created this very gradual sort of ramp up to that process, which is really wonderful. And it
Yeah.
sounds like it's something that would be easy for people to follow and get started. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Wonderful.
And everybody can do it. It's not like rocket science. It's
Sure.
actually fun, like learning this stuff, because at school we learn a lot of stuff that puts us off learning, right?
Yeah.
And that's some of the things we're having to undo, is the fear of learning.
Mhm.
People do have a bit of a fear of actually going deep and learning, because school is so traumatizing.
Mm,
So we try and make our stuff as fun and useful as possible. And people go through their own transformation first. Like that's the key. Once you feel the
100%.
benefits yourself, you understand it at such a deep level,
Mm.
that's when you can really pass it on.
That's something that I was going to mention too, is that I think a lot of people might have a misconception that, oh, I have to be 100% spiritually awakened in order to become a practitioner. And first of all, I don't believe there is a 100% spiritual
Yeah,
awakened
that doesn't
person. Like,
exist.
it's a journey that happens
Yeah.
constantly. And secondly, while you go through the process of helping other people or teaching other people, showing them the tools that you have learned, you are still learning. So there is no sort of, oh, I have to reach this stage before I become a practitioner. It's like, no, you can actually use your journey to help others as you are on the journey.
Mm.
So if anybody is feeling like, hey, this is something that I really, really want to do, but I feel like I haven't worked through my shadow yet, or I feel like I haven't, well, you know what? None of us have worked through our complete shadow yet. We're constantly doing it. So, you know what? If you're feeling guided to do this, please dive in, go to the show notes. The links are in the show notes and you can get started right away. Niraj has been so kind to allow us to listen to a quick 11-minute breathwork clip that we are going to start very shortly. First, Niraj is going to give us a little bit of instruction.
Awesome. Okay, so invite you all to sit comfortably in a place where you're not going to be disturbed. Get rid of all the distractions so you can really focus on this experience. And it's going to be a very gentle, soothing, blissful experience. And it's going to be simple breathing technique where you're going to be breathing in through your nose into your diaphragm, and you can breathe out through your mouth in a slow, smooth, consistent inhale and exhale to the beat. So the music you'll hear a count where it goes in for 4 beats and out for 8 beats. So you're going to breathe in and out in time with the music, and you're going to keep your breath as smooth and rhythmic as possible. So to make sure you're breathing diaphragmatically, just put your left hand on your belly, right hand on your chest, breathe in through your nose, and imagine actually your nostrils are in your lower back. So when you're breathing into your back, your diaphragm expands, but you're also breathing into your lower back, and it expands like a cylinder rising, and then into your chest. Okay, so you're taking a full breath as much as you can, but don't worry about the depth. It's more the rhythm that's important. And you're going to breathe out with a smooth exhale through pursed lips to control the breath, so it's really smooth, with no pause between your inhale and exhale. So you're going to do several minutes of this rhythmic breathing, and that's going to be followed by taking a breath in, a breath out, and you're going to, after a full exhale, you're going to hold your breath with no air in the lungs. You're going to completely relax every muscle in your body, and you can even let your chin go towards your chest. Hold your breath until you get a very strong urge to breathe. When you get that really strong urge to breathe, you're going to be given a command to take a deep breath in and then hum. The secret of all this is in the humming. Hum. You can do several rounds of humming. That's where the real magic happens with breathwork, actually. It's like the sound Om, the chant Om, has many physiological benefits, like switching off stress, tapping into the vagus nerve, and also producing nitric oxide, which is antiviral, antibacterial, antimicrobial, dilates blood vessels, and improves your oxygen efficiency. So you're going to be making big doses of nitric oxide with this technique, and you're going to feel really good as a result of it. So all you need to do is just follow along the simple instructions. There's going to be a guided meditation at the beginning to help set the mood and the scene, and then you're going to go into that very blissful meditative state. So enjoy the experience. Sit comfortably in an upright position with your back straight, or lie down on your back with your arms by your side in a place we shall not be disturbed. And with your eyes closed, bring your awareness to the sound, any sound that draws your attention right now in this moment. That's right, becoming more and more present with the sound. And the sound of my voice should be your guide on this journey into bliss. Bliss and relaxation. That's right. And now, bring your awareness to your breath. Become the observer of your breath. Don't try to control it. Just allow it to be as it needs to be. Now, becoming the observer of your own ability to control your breath consciously, breathing in and breathing out with your own conscious control. the observer of every breath you take, breathing in and out, noticing as you breathe in the turn of your inhale to your exhale, and back again from your exhale to your inhale. Become the observer of that turn. That's right. Becoming the observer of your own breath, imagining you are now breathing in a light from above through the crown of your head, running through your entire body. Scan your body in this moment right now as you breathe for any areas of tension, stress, pain that you want to let go of and release. And as you breathe this light of a higher power into the area you want to let go of. That's right. Noticing that area or your entire being filling up with this light. And now, taking deep, full breaths, breathing in to count of 4, breathing out to the count of 8 beats. Easily, effortlessly connected to the rhythm with a smooth and consistent inhale and exhale. Breathing in the light, breathing out the old that no longer serves you.
6, 7, 8.
That's right. 6, 7, 8. Imagining your entire being is being filled up with this healing light, and any darkness is leaving your body.
6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In.
Breathing in through your nose, take a deep breath in. Holding that breath in for a moment, and then let go of all the air. And after a full exhalation, holding your breath, and allowing every muscle in your body to just completely relax, letting go of any tension in your body. Becoming completely still and relaxed. Now imagine this healing white light, the higher power, is starting to enter into every single cell of your being, restoring that inner harmony and balance, energizing
activating your healing potential at a cellular level. That's right. And when you feel a strong urge to breathe, take a deep breath all the way in, through your abdomen, into your chest, and then expanding into the midbrain, like an electric spiral of light up through your spine, illuminating you to this higher power. Witness this light, and then squeeze that area in your body that you want to send the healing energy straight to, or contract every single muscle in your body tight, and then release with a hum. Again. Again. That's right, coming back to normal breathing in this heightened vibrational state. Repeat the following affirmation in your mind with conviction. I am whole, perfect, strong, loving, harmonious, and happy. That's right. Seeing yourself whole and complete, how would you feel? What would you do? How would you be if you were healthy, happy, and the best version of yourself right now? Witness that. That's right. Know that you shall leave this experience here today with a new sense of positive energy connected to the light. Trust in its guidance. Much love, positive energy, peace.
Wow. Thank you so much, Niraj. That was incredible. Now, if you could just give our audience the website and all of your social media so they have that on hand.
So you can connect with me on Instagram. It's Niraj Naik Official, or you can check out also Soma Breath. Like, follow both of those accounts for everything that I'm up to. And you can also check out our YouTube channel, Soma Breath, as well. There's loads of amazing content on there. Practically give away everything for free on there as well. So you can just browse through the playlists. We also have a very thriving, active Facebook group, which is also Soma Breath, which you can join and also engage with the community and be notified of all of our latest things. And otherwise, just go to somabreath.com, sign up for the masterclass, get on our newsletter, and just stay in the loop for all of the new stuff we're sharing all the time. You know, all the new events, new classes. We do a lot of group breathwork journeys with groups online, which are really worth tuning into as well.
Wonderful. So that is for Soma Breath. It's SOMABREATH.com. For Niraj's Instagram, it's NIRAJNAIK
That's
official, right. OFFICIAL.
Perfect.
YouTube is also Soma Breath?
Yeah.
Okay. Niraj, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been super enlightening, and I'm so happy to share all this information with our listeners. I wish you a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
If you are interested in learning more about me and the sessions that I do, feel free to go to my website at infinitesoullove.com. On all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Infinite Soul Love 1111. Hey, and if you feel called, I would love it if you could rate The Heart of You on whatever streaming service you're using, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please take a moment, give it a review. It really does help the channel. Thanks so much.